Probably one of my least favorite things when it comes to running is running in the winter. It's cold, it's wet, and usually the road conditions are not ideal. But if you're training for a goal spring race like I am with the Marine Corps Half Marathon, or you just enjoy running as an activity or a way to stay healthy, then you're pretty much forced to either always run on the treadmill through the winter or get outside and deal with those harsh winter conditions. And so today I figured I'd share my running gear essentials that I use to help me deal with running outside during the winter. So really quick, I'll highlight what my typical running outfit looks like through the winter. I usually have a pair of half tights, and then I have a long sleeve shirt that I'll wear underneath my running jacket, and then I'll wear a pair of gloves. I always have a neck tube, and then usually I'll either wear a hat with a headband to cover my ears or a running beanie. And then last but not least, with my winter outfit, and also the first winter gear running essential, is my running shoe. Now there's primarily two approaches you can take when it comes to winter running shoes. You can choose a trail type running shoe where it's designed more for extreme conditions. The outsole pattern is a lot more extreme as well. But if you're someone like me who does not want to add another running shoe to your running shoe rotation, you can pick a daily trainer like the Nike Pegasus here that has an outsole that's as close as you could probably get to doing a trail running shoe while still being a road shoe. So as you can see with the Nike Pegasus, the outsole has great rubber coverage throughout the entire outsole. There's almost really no midsole exposure other than a few places throughout the outsole. And then another thing about it is that the lug pattern on the outsole for the Pegasus has lugs that protrude pretty far and allow for great grip. I would almost argue the Pegasus is the closest you can get with a road shoe to also being a trail shoe. It's almost a hybrid shoe. I've been using the Pegasus since 2020. I use it for almost all my winter runs and have had no issues in terms of confidence with the grip that the outsole provides when I'm doing runs in the snow or when it's wet and maybe it's muddy or just slick in general. And probably the only downside to utilizing the Pegasus as a daily trainer for winter running is that obviously the upper is not really designed for those extreme elements. So there have been times that the upper has gotten wet, which means my socks get wet and it's an unenjoyable run for the rest of the time. Most shoe brands do offer like a winterized or rain version of some of their staple shoes. So for Nike, it would be the Pegasus Shield. So the upper is designed a little differently. I choose to forego that because like I said, I don't really want to be adding another shoe to my running shoe rotation. During the winter, I just put up with the fact that there's a chance my shoes might be getting wet during my run. I don't really have an issue with that. It's pretty rare that my shoes get wet enough to where like I'm miserable and regret wearing a daily trainer like this. The second winter running gear essential that I utilize are running gloves. Now, when it comes to running outside in the winter, the thing I notice the most for me specifically is that my hands are always the first thing to get cold. And if my hands get cold and I'm pretty early in a run, it's going to be a miserable long run. I've literally had runs where I've had to run tucking my hands like under my arms to try and warm them up because the gloves I chose for that run just were not great. So there's two things I pretty much utilize when it comes to running with running gloves. So one thing I do is I always run with two pair of gloves. So I'll stick the second pair of gloves in the pockets of my running jacket so that if I have to, I can stack during the run if my hands start to get too cold. And then I also try and look for running gloves like these New Balance gloves here that have this extra mitten layer that pretty much tucks away into a pocket in the glove, so that if my hands start to get cold or it's really windy, I can utilize the mitten part of the glove to actually pull over my fingers, and it just adds that extra layer to help keep my hands warm. And then, like I said, maybe cut out some of that wind. So I have this pair from New Balance. I have another pair from Asics that are the exact same. So this is another winter essential. And like I said, I always run with two pair of gloves at least to make sure that if I need to, I can stack the gloves to try and make sure that my hands stay warm. And my third winter running gear essential are hand warmers. So again, like I said, probably one of the most important parts of my run is keeping my hands warm. I've just had too many runs where my hands are freezing during the run because I just didn't have the proper gear or it was colder than I thought it would be. And a great way to make sure that you have no issues is to just bring some hand warmers along for your run. You can either start with the hand warmers if you want to, so break out the hand warmers and stick them in your gloves when you're starting your run, or you can take a similar approach to what I do with having a second pair of gloves. You can toss these hand warmers in your jacket pocket or like a flip belt or something that you have. And then as your hands start to get cold, you can break these out and toss them in your gloves to help warm up your hands. These right here are an absolute winter essential to making sure that you survive winter running and making sure, like I said, you keep your hands warm. And so, like I said, I do have a winter coat that has pockets to carry things, but it's not really ideal in terms of weight distribution and being able to carry heavy things. So my fourth winter running gear essential is the Fanny Pack. As you can see here, I have a Fanny Pack from Nike and a Fanny Pack from Asics. This is actually also what I utilize to carry the flag for my run streak for 2024. But the main reason I love the Fanny Pack, or you could utilize like a flip belt if you really wanted to, but the main reason I love this is it allows me to carry essentials like my phone and gels and other things that I might want to carry, like the hot hands, or you could toss your gloves into the Fanny Pack as well. And one thing about carrying your phone on the run is more for the necessity of safety. So with the Fanny Pack, it allows me to tuck my phone into my belt so that if I'm out on my run and something happens, you have the ability to have your phone on you to be able to call someone and let them know what's going on. So again, the Fanny Pack is a winter essential primarily because it allows you to be able to run safely without anything in your hands, so that you can try and have the best balance possible with extreme road conditions and weather conditions, as well as allow others to be able to track you on your runs, or you can contact someone in case an emergency happens while you're out on your winter run. Now, my fifth and final winter running gear essential is the treadmill. So unfortunately, sometimes with winter running, the treadmill is unavoidable. So for me, this is probably another huge winter running gear essential, even though it's not actually a piece of running gear, it's running equipment. And now I do realize that not everybody has the ability to get a treadmill and set it up in their home. Treadmills can be quite expensive and they take up a lot of space, and that's not practical for everybody. And so my alternative to utilizing a treadmill would be getting a gym membership where you have access to a treadmill through the winter. Before I purchased this treadmill here, I had a $10 membership to Planet Fitness, so the cheapest membership possible, primarily because I just wanted to utilize the treadmill on days where I believed that it was just too unsafe to be running outside. As much as you may dislike running on the treadmill offers two things: consistency and safety, which for me, safety is the biggest part. Some days it's just impractical to run outside and you really do run the risk of injuring yourself or having something happen that might be out of your control. You want to ensure that you are always being the safest possible with winter running, and sometimes that's unavoidable, which means you have to either run on a treadmill that you own or go to a gym where they offer treadmills. So if you can, utilize a cheap, inexpensive gym membership, or if you can, get a treadmill for yourself at home to utilize through winter running so that you can make sure, like I said, you stay safe and you get that consistency that you may need in training for your spring goal race. And so that is it for my winter running gear essentials. Like I said, my least favorite part of running is running through the winter, but these essentials do make that winter running a little bit easier.